Hi everyone, I'm back once again with another review vlog. This time it's on a sequel that I've been fucking waiting on for 11 years. Devil May Cry 5. Oh my gosh. I used to dream about there being a 5th Devil May Cry, and then I heard about that in 2012, but it was a fucking reboot. I mean, like, I looked at it and I was like, wait, why is Dante's hair black? And why is he scrawny? And why is he fighting these demons that just... The designs were just so poor, and there was hardly any emphasis on the story. I mean, the gameplay was amazing. Don't get me wrong, but if you're like 13 years old and you like chugging monsters every fucking night, yeah, the reboot's perfect for you. Otherwise, it's a no for me. So the reboot was remastered for the PS4 and Xbox One in 2015. And then several months down the road, Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition releases digitally on those same platforms. And that's got me thinking, what's Capcom planning? 3 years down the road, we get the Devil May Cry HD Collection for PS4 and Xbox One. So several months down the road, that same year, 2018, at E3, it's announced that there's a 5th Devil May Cry. And I'm on the edge of tears because this is something I've wanted since the 4th game. That was 10 years beforehand. And then it was announced for spring 2019, and I'm just like, I don't want to wait this long. But good things come to those who wait, I guess. So then the game finally comes out, and honestly, this might be the best title I've ever played. There's just so much, there's just too many words to put to describe how good this game is. So I'm going to break down by the story, the character gameplays, and so forth. So the story takes place several years down the road after Devil May Cry 4. This is after, Capcom decided to redo the whole timeline where it's 3, 1, 2, anime, and 4. Originally it was 3, 1, 4, 2, but then they decided to redo it, and it honestly makes more sense, because when you think about it, the 3rd game is where this whole thing begins. You have Dante and Virgil, who are the sons of Sparta, who lose their mother to Mundus, and Virgil's on this hunger road for power, and Dante's just like, I want to run a shop and everything. And it turns out Virgil's like, join me or I'm gonna fucking kill you. So then they fight it out, and Dante ends up losing Virgil in the underworld. Poor guys. And then the 1st game comes along. Trish comes to the shop. He tells him about Mundus. He goes to Melee Island. He seals Mundus. Actually, he kills Mundus, if I'm not mistaken. 2nd game comes around. He gets word from Matier and Lucia that Arius is trying to revive the demon Argus X the Chaos, who was honestly a terrible boss, but if you like nostalgia, that's perfect for you. And then there's the anime, which there's not really much canonical purpose to it, other than the fact that it really goes in depth on what Dante does when he's running the shop. And if you remember, at the end of the series, he gets a job posting that there's some demons to kill on an island, and, well, when you really think about it, this was made before the release of the 4th game. So, does it not give you the clue that this takes place on Melee Island? The answer is yes, because it does. Fast forward 20 years after the events of the 3rd game, you find Dante on Melee Island. He jumps into the church, and he shoots Sanctus, and then Nero's just like, who the hell is this guy? He just shot the preacher. So then they fight it out, and then he just chases after Dante. And when he runs into Credo and Agnes, he finds out, oh, Dante's not the bad guy after all. I'm working for a bunch of fucking lunatics. And then Sanctus is revived. He shows Nero the Savior, which is the monument that he's been working on. He captures Nero, and then it's up to Dante to free him, and he's able to get Yamato back in the process. It was around this time, in between all the events, it's when Dante realizes, holy shit, Nero is a Sparta descendant. Because, apart from my brother, it's him that's able to activate Yamato. So then, flash forward several more years down the road, and it turns out Nero loses his arm. A hooded figure comes and rips it off. He activates Yamato after ripping his arm off, and then he just disappears. And this whole time, we're just wondering, who is this hooded figure? Who is Urizen? Who is V, and what is his purpose? The story behind Devil May Cry 5 and the gameplay mechanics, it falls in line just about as well organized as the chronological timeline. which honestly is not very organized at all, because every mission takes place in a different part of the Devil May Cry 5 timeline. Like, you'll play as Nero, you'll play as V, you'll play as Dante, and they all take place within different parts of how the time flies in this game. Which honestly is a pretty well representation of how the franchise is launched, because it's not in the order of which the games are released. There's prequels, there's sequels, you get the fucking memo. But overall, it's a really good story. Well, I'm not going to spoil it for you because this is a spoiler-free review. Pretty much what I'm saying is, if you're a fan of Devil May Cry, don't think twice about getting this game, because it's so damn good. So moving on to the mechanics. You start off as Nero, and then you switch back and forth between Nero and V, and that is until you come back across Dante. Now, if you played Devil May Cry 4, obviously you know how Nero works. He's got really good combos with the Red Queen. The Blue Rose, I actually like the Blue Rose more in this game than I did in the fourth one. Number one, because it doesn't sound like a toy gun. Number two, the charge shot actually does damage, as opposed to the fourth game, where it's just charge shot, pew, doesn't do any fucking damage hardly. And then when you play as V, V's kind of confusing, because he himself doesn't really do much of the combat. He relies on Griffin, Shadow, and Nightmare. Now between those three, I'd have to say Griffin and Shadow are the most useful, because Nightmare only appears when you summon your Devil Trigger. It makes him look kind of lazy, but when you really think about it, it makes the game on your behalf somewhat enjoyable. And there's not really much difficulty to it, because you could be evading damage the whole time. But you also have to worry about Shadow and Griffin and Nightmare, of course, even though, of course, like I said, Nightmare only comes when you summon your Devil Trigger. Now, as far as Dante goes, I really got to go into this. You've played as Dante in all of these games, and if you're expecting it to be any different this time, well, come to think about it, it is a little different. Because some of his combos that you had in the fourth game are not present in the fifth. I mean, and it's totally understandable that Capcom wants to change things up, and they've really changed things up with the introduction of V, and that's totally respectable. Some of his combos in the Swordmaster slot, when you switch between styles, they're not present like they are in the fourth game, so it really does make it a little more challenging. And another overall factor of the game is that there are no vital stars. There are no vital stars, there are no devil stars, there's no holy waters, and of course we haven't seen an untouchable since the first game, but I'm sure you've already noticed that. But one new introduction that this game introduces, or actually a couple of them. One of them, purple orb fragments. You couldn't collect purple orb fragments in the first 4 games, but in this one you can. And also there's a new feature called Knothog Hatchlings, which open certain doorways to places that you need to get to. And I thought, this is kind of creepy. It's pretty well placed. Overall, the story's great. The gameplay is amazing, per usual. I'd probably say it's better than the fourth. Even with the removal of some factors, which I'm totally fine with, it's a good fucking game. Honestly, if I had to give it a good rating on a scale of 1 to 10, it's a perfect 10 out of 10. And I hate giving out perfect ratings because that kind of feels like I'm pandering. Capcom is back. I mean, you've had the remastered Resident Evil, you've had the new Monster Hunter, Mega Man 11, Resident Evil 7 was a huge success, and now Devil May Cry 5. It has 139,000 viewers on Twitch. That's a lot. And that was only on its opening day. So I really appreciate you guys watching this. If you like what you see, be sure to subscribe, and I'll be sure to do my best to post more content. Thanks for watching. See you guys later.